I'm Vin LeBate.
And I'm Melanie Dunn.
And this is Rare Candy,
a Pokemon podcast.
Having defeated Brock and obtained their first badge, our heroes made their way into the mountains, where they camped out at a lovely little bed and breakfast just outside Mount Moon. But they can camp no longer, so it's time for us to go inside. And things are about to get a little nasty. How did you find Mount Moon?
Mostly annoying, because every 5 seconds there's something trying to eat you, like a Zubat mostly, and you can't really tell where you're going, and then you try to walk, and then you forget where you are, and there's 3 levels, and yeah.
Yeah, this is sort of the epitome of a Pokemon dungeon, in that it is long, mazy, and frustrating. If you were paying attention to that guy back in Pewter City, you might have picked up some repels. I didn't. I should have. So really, today we're just going to be talking about slogging through. Because you walk into Mount Moon, and probably the first thing you're going to do is find a Zubat. There are lots of these guys here because someone cranked the encounters way up in this area. Zubat is the bat Pokemon, and it is, this is where we're going to start seeing Pokemon that are less straightforward than the bugs that we encountered earlier in Viridian Forest. Zubat is both poison and flying type, so it's a little trickier. It's got some tricks up its sleeve. I caught a Zubat. I named it Brangelina.
That's a good name for a Zubat. Kind of fits with the Pokemon type and appearance, and yeah. I caught one too, and it has a ghost move, and I can't pull it up right now because I don't have it in my party, but it's got a ghost move and probably flying. I don't remember now, or maybe poison. So I was confused for a minute. I thought maybe it might be a ghost type, but it's really not. It's just using a ghost move. Yep. Do they all do that?
Yeah, most Pokemon, well, all Pokemon can learn moves that are not of their own type, and some of them can pick up some of the less common types. So you were saying last time that your Charizard has a Steel type move.
Right.
And that's not the most common of types, and it's not a type that Charizard has built in. Using moves that don't match your Pokemon's type, or any of its types if it has more than one, is slightly less effective, so it's less of an optimized maneuver, but it can make them more versatile in combat and more able to take out things that don't perfectly match up with their strengths and weaknesses.
Well, is it odd that my Zubat came that way? I didn't teach it that, and it didn't acquire it. I mean, that's how I caught it.
It's not necessarily odd. Sometimes Pokemon will start with a move. You'll encounter them in the wild with a move that is sort of unusual in terms of their type, but they'll be throwing it at you left and right.
This is fascinating from an evolutionary perspective. Like, how did that happen? Like, wild Zubat was just out there and saw a ghost Pokemon and said, I want to learn how to do that. That will be useful for me.
Well, bats are naturally creepy. They're drawn to creepy things.
Leech Life is one of the attacks it has.
Yes.
The other one, I forget what it is now, but one of those is Bug or something. The other one is Ghost. It's a weird Zubat. I had to pull it up at some point.
Oh, actually, wait. I have access to my own Zubat.
I could go back to the Pokemon Center and get it from the computer, but I'm too lazy to do that. That's the most annoying part of this game for me, is logging on to Bill's PC. Someone's PC/Bill's PC.
Still someone.
Yeah, he's someone. Oh no, I just got into another battle by accident. That's okay. I can podcast, host, and battle at the same time.
Okay. So yeah, I have a Zubat here that I haven't really done much with, so it still resembles its original wild nature. And it has 2 moves, Leech Life, which is a bug move, and Astonish, which is a ghost move.
Oh, I have the exact same thing. Now that you just said that out loud, yeah. Astonish and Leech Life. Gotcha.
Yeah, most of the Pokemon that you catch in the wild will be fairly similar to each other in terms of the moves that they know, which is interesting because neither of those moves match the Pokemon's type, which makes it sort of a grab bag when you're running into it in the wild. If you've got a Pikachu, Zubats aren't going to be any trouble for you because you've got a ton of little electric attacks you can use to take them down, and they're probably not going to like rock attacks either.
Yeah, I think I used Pikachu quite a bit. See, I've been to Mount Moon twice now. I'm a little further ahead in the game, but like Vin, I also did not invest in any repel. And I figured, oh, this will be, it's a dungeon. It'll be like Viridian Forest. But it's really not. I mean, literally every 5 steps you take, you're encountering a stupid Zubat. So you really just have to keep fighting. Now, the benefit is you do level up some of your Pokemon. If you need to do that, they'll get plenty of experience. So, I was fine with it. But yeah, I got out of there kind of as quickly as I could, but not before getting, I don't know when you want to talk about fossils, but I did encounter Team Rocket. I did encounter the nerd guy who wants to share fossils with you, but only after you beat him.
Yeah, we'll see those guys in a little while today.
It's such a blur to me that I can't remember where and when. I just wandered around forever, past the poor girl who's crying because she can't find her way out, who you just abandon. You just see ya, babe.
Yeah.
Found that funny.
It's a harsh world, the world of Pokemon, especially since you can't really interact with people in different ways.
And you want to point out to her, you're just running in a circle, so, maybe try not doing that, but you just keep walking.
Zubats aren't your only problem here, and they're not even your only problem that will be cropping up every 2 seconds, because this place is also crawling with Geodudes, which we saw back at Brock's house.
Yeah, what's the deal with Pikachu and Geodude? Not so much effective? Because I had a hard time with my electric attacks.
Electric attacks are not great against rock, and they do absolutely nothing against ground, and Geodude is both of those things.
Gotcha. Because I know he's got that mud sport. That's the one that reduces the effectiveness of electricity, but even when he doesn't use that, Pikachu was kind of useless.
That's one of the interesting setups about this, is that your Pikachu is adept at taking down Zubats and useless against Geodudes, so you sort of have to keep juggling per encounter, which is a skill that they're teaching you in this area, that you can't just rely on one Pokemon, especially because Geodude is also resistant to normal type moves. And this is the first time that we've really seen that.
Yeah, then he does that defense curl just to annoy you, where he just bounces a little bit and is like, ha ha ha, yeah. Which is really annoying and infuriating. I did have Mankey with me, so that was helpful.
Yeah, I had, of course, my Bulbasaur, and that's doubly good because not only do grass attacks tear right through rock and ground type Pokemon, but they're special attacks, which means that they're going to ignore that defense curl.
Right.
Because that only raises your physical defense. But as you're slowly crawling your way through Mount Moon, you're going to find some very interesting new items just lying around. The first one, which we should take a moment to talk about, is a rare candy.
Yay!
Rare candy is a great item that does one thing, and it does it well. It grants your Pokemon 1 level. You want to hold on to these, because right now, gaining a level is easy, but eventually gaining a level is going to be hard.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I just kept mine.
Yeah, hoard them. You'll also find an escape rope, which lets you just exit a dungeon. That is super handy, especially when you forgot to bring any repels like a jackass.
No, I remember now what I did the first time. I went back to the Pokemart and I bought one of those things because I was so paranoid that I was going to just completely die in that place. And now I have 2 because then I found one and I haven't used them yet.
Oh, that's a good plan. I definitely did use one just because I got so tired of fighting my way back to the door and I wanted to go and take a little rest. You'll also find Moonstones. This is our first evolution item. There are several Pokemon in the game that only evolve when you use a certain sort of mystical stone. And this is the Moonstone, which we find here in Mount Moon, and which we've been told already is used for evolving Clefairy, which we haven't encountered yet. But it will also involve Jigglypuff, and those are both Pokemon that will eventually be Fairy type. And it will evolve our friends the Nidorans that we found just outside, who are cute little bunnies, much like the myth of the rabbit in the moon, which occurs in both Asian and Mesoamerican folklore.
That latter, I did not know. I really wish it had occurred in our folklore, because I really like Moon Bunny.
Yeah, Moon Bunny is pretty great. Big props to the rest of the world for the Moon Bunny story.
It's pounding mochi it's pounding rice into mochi.
Yeah, like that. There's a lot of permutations. A lot of them have the Moon Bunny sacrificing himself as food for someone else and then being granted a trip to live in the moon.
Also, sometimes transforming into a magical princess with blonde pigtails that has to save the world and marry Tuxedo Mask.
Yeah, that is an ancient traditional story from the East.
Yeah, yes.
So you'll find some moonstones. Don't use them yet. You'll want to level all of those Pokemon because they have some moves that they're going to learn in their pre-evolved form that they're not going to learn later. So give them a little time. Let them grow into themselves.
I have 2 moonstones. I don't know why. I don't remember how. Maybe from wandering back in to Mount Moon after wandering
There are 2 in Mount Moon. They're hidden.
Oh, okay.
Because that's another thing that you're going to see here is that there are some objects that you can't immediately spot and you have to search around in the rocks.
Yeah, that I found... that's tricky because you're getting used to like Pokeballs just lying out there. And you're already getting used to walking into people's houses unannounced and just picking them up off the floor for yourself. Those don't belong to you, but somehow that's okay.
Yeah, you're the only... It's a solipsistic universe. You're the only person here.
Yeah, you're kind of a jerk.
Of course, this does also mean that you'll be hunting around in these rocks, walking back and forth even more and getting more Zubats and Geodudes raining down upon you. But that's okay. You'll also find another technical machine here, TM09 Bullet Seed, which is a grass-type attack, which will be pretty handy if you don't have a lot of those in your arsenal, because the next gym that you'll be visiting is going to be a little bit weak to those. Mm-hmm. You'll also encounter ladders. Mount Moon has 3 floors. The middle floor is really just a pass-through where you move from point A to point B, but it is crawling with another Pokemon that we haven't met yet, or we may have met on the first floor, but in much less frequency, and that is Paris, the mushroom Pokemon.
Yeah, I really like Paris. Paris has proven to be very useful for me.
Paris is pretty great. He's a grass and bug type, which is a neat combo, and which it's one of those unusual combinations that will take 4 times damage from certain attacks, specifically flying and fire, but will take quarter damage from moves like ground and grass.
Yeah, and there's no way I'm ever going to remember anything that you just said during actual play, but I'm just having fun with Paris. It's kind of cute. Look, it's scary, but in a cute way, and it's been pretty useful for me.
Oh, Paris is based on that really freaky fungus that people like to post on the internet that turns insects and arachnids into zombies and controls their actions.
I'm not sure if I knew that.
Yeah, sometimes you'll be browsing Facebook and you'll see a picture of a screwy-looking tarantula with a bunch of weird tendrils sticking out of it. Yeah. And it's been taken over by a fungus that is actually controlling it. And Paris is that thing.
Okay.
I named mine DJ Cold Cuts with a Z.
It's a good name for a Paris. Yeah, I'm looking at mine right now. I have a lot of female Pokemon. She has Poison Powder, Stun Spore. Now, Poison Powder is a poison move. Stun Spore is a grass move, but it also involves poison. Let me check that out right now. No, it's paralyzing. Paralyzing dust is scattered wildly. It may paralyze the foe. It's pretty useful. It has Bullet Seed because I taught my Paris Bullet Seed using that technical machine. Yep. Must have been. And my Paris also happens to have, because I taught it, Dig for strategic purposes.
Dig is great because it essentially works as an escape rope.
Can be used to exit dungeons.
Yes, yeah. Although you can't have it yet, so don't pin your hopes on that, listeners, if you're playing along at the same speed as us.
Yeah, I'm a little ahead, so okay.
Paris also has an ability called Effect Spore, which means that if you make physical contact with it, it can inflict a random status effect on you, much like Pikachu's ability that will inflict paralysis. This means that if you're fighting a lot of these guys, between their Stun Spore attacks and their Effect Spore ability, there's a good chance that your Pokemon are going to be picking up all sorts of status effects, especially when you descend down to the 3rd floor and start encountering Mount Moon's additional Pokemon Clefairy. Clefairy is very much like a Jigglypuff in terms of its abilities and its love of putting you to sleep. So it's very possible that you will end up with a bag full of sleeping, paralyzed Pokemon, and you will want to head for the hills, or I suppose head out of the hills in this case.
That's pretty much what happened to me. I just ran out of there. And eventually I came back because I didn't catch a Clefairy the first time. So I have one now. Wait, can we go back to Paris for a minute and talk about these mushrooms?
Let's go back to Paris.
I just want to let everyone know.
Guys, I'll always have Paris.
Oh, that was pretty awful. All right. I
apologize for that.
Brangelina's going to get you for that. Okay, so Paris, before I was distracted by bad puns. My Paris came holding an item, and the item was Tiny Mushroom.
Yes.
So that was exciting. So I am still in possession of Tiny Mushroom, and the only thing I know about it so far, where is it, is that it's small, it's rare, and it's quite popular among certain people. Thanks for the specificity, Pokemon.
Yeah,
So
you can find several of those mushrooms hidden throughout the dungeon, both tiny mushrooms and big mushrooms. Hold on to them. Someone will want them eventually.
Okay. That's what I figured. I must be able to do something with it. I just don't know what yet.
Yep. If we're going in order of taking the first ladder that we see every time, which it turns out is what you should do if you want to explore the whole dungeon.
Oh, yeah?
This first ladder will take us down to meet our first Team Rocket member. And this guy is going to come at us with fury and with mice. He's got a Sandshrew and a Rattata and a Zubat. Everyone's got a Zubat. And, it'll be a fun little fight. But what's really interesting down here is that there is a star piece. And a star piece is interesting mostly because you can sell it for cash. It doesn't really have a lot of other uses.
I got the star piece after defeating this dude, and all it says is something like it can be sold for a high price. And later you find out just how high that price is. It's like a lot of polka dollars, like to the tune of 5,000.
That sounds right. So, yeah, be sure to explore every nook and cranny because there's wealth to be found here in this dungeon. If you go up and head to the second ladder, you'll find another Team Rocket member, and he'll be guarding another technical machine. Technical machine that is very appropriate for Team Rocket because it is TM46 Thief. Thief is interesting not only because it can steal your opponent's held item, which is of dubious use, but it's a dark type attack. And we have not seen a lot of those so far. It's not super strong, but if you don't have any dark in your arsenal, it might be handy.
Oh, okay. I have this. I already forget what I did with Thief. I gave it to somebody, but at some point, I had this Meowth that came with a dark attack called Bite, which I think is one of the more common ones.
Yes.
And then I gave Thief to somebody who is not Meowth, and I just don't remember who. I'm not sure if you want to go into that now or save that for another time. Are most players going to use Thief right away, or did they just carry it around until they figure out who to give it to?
I tend to hold on to / hoard my technical machines because I get paranoid because they're one-time use. Thief is not necessarily the most useful of them, so it's not a huge loss if you toss it on someone and use it for a while and then trade it out for better attacks later.
Gotcha.
So having obtained that, we can head back up and continue deeper into Mount Moon, fighting a variety of trainers who have mostly come in here and gotten lost. Youngsters, lasses, and a couple of oddballs, including a super nerd and a hiker.
Yeah, I did this in 2 parts again because the first time I ran out of Mount Moon without doing all the things. So I do remember the first time running into Super Nerd Jovan. That's the guy with the fossils, and you just innocently wander in there. He's like, "You can't take my fossils." I'm like, "I'm sorry, I'm lost. Oh God."
Actually, that's the other super nerd.
It is?
Yep, there's 2 super nerds.
I'm confused. Okay. So what does this guy do? It's been so long now.
He's on the first floor. He's, I believe, guarding one of the more interesting items. It's either Bullet Seed or the rare candy on the first floor.
It's all coming back to me now.
You should try and check out every corner of the first floor to find all those items that we talked about and to beat these guys up and take their money.
Yeah, I think the Zubats drove me away is what happened at this point. Because I remember doing some of the things and then realizing that, yeah, I probably missed some things. I just got tired of being in there.
Yeah, it's kind of an emotionally draining area of the game.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Eventually you just don't want to be there anymore. But it does make sense, even if you can't stand it, to maybe stock up on some repels and give it a good poking around.
That might be helpful because with me, with the ladders, I was like, okay, I'm going to comb every inch of this floor and see where all the ladders are placed before I attempt going down them. But you just can't do that because you keep getting attacked by wild Pokemon, so you eventually just find yourself going down a ladder anyway.
Yeah, it makes it very difficult to keep your bearings.
Exactly.
Which is, I think, sort of a theme in Pokemon dungeons. But once you've gathered up all of your mushrooms and your Parises and your candies and your TMs, you can head on down to that third ladder. That's going to take you on sort of a long walk around the bottom floor, but it is also going to take you to the way out.
We're getting lost just looking at maps online of Mount Moon. That's how difficult it is to navigate.
Yeah.
We're not even there.
But you are going to fight a few more of these Team Rocket grunts. They're not the hardest, and they do pay out pretty well. So it is worth your time to take them all down if you've got the power points. That is the number of times you can use your moves. If you've got some to spare, you should take these guys down. And eventually you will find Miguel, who is a super nerd, like the guy we saw upstairs, and who is using some Pokemon that we haven't seen before. He's using a Grimer, a Coughing, and a Voltorb. This is a lot of poison and a little bit of electricity. We don't have a lot of great counters for these in our arsenal so far, which means that essentially this fight is going to be pretty even.
Yeah, I don't remember having a whole lot of trouble.
Yeah, but it's not like fighting Brock where you just had to have the one key Pokemon. You just need to sort of use everything in your arsenal to take things down rather than just one hit of a Vine Whip or a Thundershock.
Yeah, just tough it out.
Once you've done that, he will finally allow you to take one of the legendary fossils of Mount Moon, of which there are two. A Helix fossil and a Dome fossil. You can't do anything with these for quite a while, but eventually you will be able to turn them into Pokemon. The Helix will turn into Ammonite, and the Dome into Kabuto.
And I think I got the Dome fossil. Yep, Dome fossil. And then I have it in my bag, and I'm looking at the description. It just says a fossil of an ancient seafloor dwelling Pokemon. It appears to be part of a shell, and I won't do it now, but if you try to use it, Professor Oak pops up and says, "Hey, dummy, don't use that right now." And you can't really do anything with it.
Yeah, eventually there will be a lab where you can use it, but that will take quite a while. I took the Helix fossil, which is good, because that way we will get the opposite things. We did not consult about that.
Yeah.
We are just a killer team.
Mm-hmm.
Before you leave, though, you should check the rocks in this area, because there is one more Moonstone, which you will want because obviously you've got a couple of Pokemon that need them to evolve. But having obtained that, you can climb this last ladder and taste the fresh air of Route 4.
Yeah, and you won't want to go back in. Both times I climbed to freedom by accident. I really had no idea where I was going. I just found myself emerged from the cave, relieved.
Yeah, it really is a relief to exit this space. But we're going to save Route 4 for next week as we travel down it to Cerulean City.
Mm-hmm. So if you like the show, please go to iTunes and subscribe, and please leave us a rating, as well as a wonderful review. And also feel free to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Rare Candy Podcast, and on Instagram @Rare Candy Podcast.
And if you've got any questions, comments, Pokemon stories, you can email them to us at rarecandypodcast@gmail.com. Remember, all girls leave home someday.
It said so on TV.